Why was there fresh blood in the abandoned cabin? I should have never agreed to that trip. It was my buddy Dave's idea. He was always talking about how real men disconnect, how getting off the grid clears your head. It was him, me, Taylor, and Chris, 2 tents, 4 REI sleeping bags, and enough Costco jerky to feed a platoon. We were somewhere up in the North Cascades. No cell reception, no GPS, just a shitty topo map and Dave's misplaced confidence. First red flag, the guy at the last gas station before the turnoff. Old, rail thin, missing a few teeth. He leaned on the counter while I paid for ice and asked where we were headed. Mount Baker Forest Service Road, trying to find that old lake trail. He paused. Ain't many folks camp that side anymore. Floods wrecked most of the road. You boys got radios? I said we didn't. He didn't smile, just bagged the ice and said, "Hope you all like being alone." Dave laughed it off. Locals always gotta make it spooky. We got there just before sundown. Camp was about a 1.5 mile hike in, which we didn't realize included washed-out switchbacks and patches of waist-high thorns. Chris sliced his palm wide open, trying to steady himself on some rusted fencing. Still, no one wanted to turn back. Dave found a clearing near the tree line. That's where we set up. That first night, weird, but nothing dramatic. Just quiet. No crickets, no wind, no birds. The fire crackled too loudly in the silence. It felt wrong, like being inside a house that didn't want guests. Around midnight, Taylor woke me up whispering, Dude, someone's walking around." I sat up, heart pounding. We listened. Crack, crack, crack. "Probably a deer," I muttered. But then we heard it again, slower, like cautious footsteps. Dave and Chris were already outside, shining flashlights. Nothing, just forest shadows dancing. "Animal," Dave insisted. "Chill." I wanted to believe him, we all did. But in the morning, we found boot prints. Not hiking boots, big, wide, worn-out treads, leading from the tree line, circling our tents, and stopping at mine. Just stopping there. Dave swore it had to be one of us messing around. But I checked. I sleep with my boots inside. So did Taylor. Chris's was still muddy and untouched. We didn't talk much after that. We just packed our gear and decided to go on the hike to the lake. 2 miles deeper in. Halfway up the ridge, we found the cabin. It wasn't on the map. Not a ranger station. No signage. Just a squat, caved-in wooden thing with ivy crawling up one side and one shutter swinging in the wind. "Let's check it out," Dave grinned. Taylor immediately said no. He was already paranoid. But the rest of us were curious. Inside, dusty, trashed, full of old beer cans and moldy gear. Someone had clearly used it before, maybe drifters. But what stopped us cold was the metal hook nailed to the center beam, and the blood. Fresh, still wet. A thick trail leading from the doorway to the back corner, where something had been dragged. We didn't speak. We just backed out. All of us except Dave. He stayed behind, flashlight sweeping the shadows. "There's something carved back here," he called out. "Looks like a name or something." Then he stopped, for a beat too long. "What is it?" I asked. "It's my name." That was the moment I knew we had to go. But the sun was already down, and Dave wouldn't stop laughing. I don't remember the walk back to camp. It's like my brain refused to record it, like I was on autopilot. legs moving but my head somewhere else. Because Dave saw his name carved into the wall of an abandoned cabin. Because there was fresh blood. We got back to the tents in near total darkness. Chris kept glancing behind him like he expected to see someone or something following. Taylor wouldn't speak, just sat by the fire chewing his fingernails until they bled. And Dave? He hadn't said a word since the cabin, not one. Just this weird half smile stuck on his face. He looked blank, like someone rewrote him. I tried to bring it up. The blood, the name, everything. Dude, are you messing with us? Like, you carved that before or some shit, right? He just shook his head slowly. Nope. That's it. No explanation, no concern, just nope. Later that night I couldn't sleep. My bladder forced me out of the tent around 3 a.m. and I grabbed the flashlight. The forest was ink black, no moon, just mist and a suffocating silence. I stepped about 10 feet from the tent and froze. There were more boot prints, new ones, deeper, fresher, not from us. They circled the fire pit, the cooler. They stopped by Taylor's tent. And then there were handprints, smudged in the dew on Taylor's tent flap. 5 fingers, too long, too spread, like someone leaned in and pressed their whole palm against it, watching from inches away. I sprinted back inside and didn't sleep the rest of the night, just lay there, staring at the ceiling of nylon, clutching the stupid foldable knife from Walmart like it would actually protect me. In the morning, Taylor was gone. We called out. We searched. Nothing. No footprints leading away, no struggle. His pack was still inside the tent. His phone too. But the zipper was open. And inside his tent, on the sleeping bag, was a single note. It said, "Had to see it again. Don't follow me." I thought Chris was going to lose it. He started yelling, tearing through the woods. Dave just stood there, watching the tree line. I grabbed him. "We need to leave. Now. Forget the stuff. We go. We get help." And that's when Dave looked at me, finally, really looked at me, and said something I'll never forget. He came back. For us. I saw him in the window. He smiled. "Who?" I whispered. "The man who carved my name." I didn't wait. I grabbed my pack and started walking. Screw the others. I figured I'd hike back to the car and drive to the nearest town. I didn't even care if I had to run the whole way. But when I hit the old trail, the one we'd come up, I stopped cold. Because every tree for the next 20 feet had been marked. Slashes, deep ones, with something metal, a knife maybe, some low, some chest high, but every trunk was wounded and bleeding sap like blood. I pressed on anyway. I just had to get out. That's when I found Taylor's hat, folded perfectly, sitting in the middle of the trail, and beside it, a camera. Not ours. I opened the preview screen and it lit up. There were 5 pictures, all taken the night before, all from outside our tents. The last photo? It was of me, sleeping, with a figure, blurry and grinning, crouched behind the mesh window. I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't call for Dave or Chris. I just ran, tearing through the brush like something was right behind me, because maybe something was. My lungs were burning, and branches whipped my face. I didn't care. The trees seemed to close in tighter the further I pushed. Every crack of a twig made me jump. I kept seeing flashes, Taylor's hat, that thing's face behind my tent, those deep cuts in the trees. My thoughts were a chaotic mess, but one thing screamed above the rest. That man was watching us, all night. And we never knew. I don't know how long I ran, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 2 hours. At some point I stopped to catch my breath, hunched over, wheezing, spitting blood. That's when I realized something else. The camera was still in my hand. I don't remember grabbing it, but I must have. I sat down behind a fallen tree and started flipping through the photos again. This time slowly, my hands trembling. First photo, Chris, squatting near the fire, cooking sausages on a stick, smiling. Second, me brushing my teeth mid-sentence, probably talking shit about Dave. Third, a blurry, zoomed-in shot of our tents, but from far away, from the woods. Fourth, a night shot. Flash was used. My tent, fully zipped. My shape inside, barely visible through the mesh. Fifth, my breath caught in my throat. It was me again. But this time, I was awake. My eyes were open, wide, staring straight at the camera, except I had no memory of that. And behind me, pressed against the mesh like a wax figure half melted, was a man's face. Not quite smiling, more like grinning in segments. Like he didn't understand how smiles worked. His eyes were dull, like broken glass, and he was bald, with dirt smeared across his forehead in strange, smeared patterns. No shoes. I don't know why that stood out, but it did. The guy had no shoes. Something in my brain broke a little right then. I threw the camera into the bushes and started screaming. I couldn't help it. Just this raw, guttural scream that clawed up from my gut. And that's when I heard the voice. Behind me. You shouldn't have seen those. Not a shout. Just a soft murmur. Like someone reading a bedtime story. I spun around and there he was, 10 feet away. Naked from the waist up, pants torn at the knees, feet caked in mud and blood. His skin was pale and stretched like paper, eyes hollow, expression vacant, but familiar, because it was him, the man from the photo, and he was holding something. Taylor's jacket. I didn't think. I bolted, leaping over the log and crashing through the underbrush. I heard him behind me, feet slapping the ground with wet thuds. No words, no growl, just movement and laughter. Quiet, like he was trying not to wake someone. I tripped and slammed into the ground, chin first, bit my tongue, tasted blood. As I tried to get up, I saw something under the brush. A boot. Chris's boot. Attached to Chris's foot. I grabbed his ankle, shook it. Chris! But his eyes were wide open, glassy. His throat had been cut so deep I could see spine. The laughter got louder. I ran, again. Eventually, somehow, I ended up back at camp. Only Dave was there. He was sitting cross-legged by the fire, humming. The tents were collapsed, gear gone, like someone had tried to clean up. "Dave," I shouted, "he's here, he's here! Chris is dead, man, he cut his..." Dave looked up, smiled. "He's not dead, just reborn." What the fuck are you talking about? Dave stood. He was holding the knife, the one Chris always carried. The blade was red. He tilted his head, still smiling. He just wanted us to stay, you know, but we kept trying to leave. My knees went weak. Dave, where's Taylor? He didn't answer, just pointed behind me. I turned slowly. Taylor was there, sort of. He was standing in the shadows near the trees, arms limp, head twitching slightly to one side. And he was barefoot. My legs wouldn't move. I wanted to run, to scream, to hurl myself into the forest. But I just stood there, staring at Taylor. He wasn't right. His head lolled unnaturally, like something inside his neck had been broken and never quite healed. His arms hung like dead weight. But the worst part, worse than the fact that he was barefoot, worse than the dirt caked under his nails and the dark streaks across his shirt, was his expression. He was smiling. That same warped, eerie, almost puzzled grin that the barefoot man had. Like a toddler imitating a parent. A smile that didn't reach his eyes, because his eyes were gone. Hollowed out. Deep black sockets where his eyes had been. I staggered back. Taylor. He took one jerky step forward, then another. No. No, no, no. Dave, what the fuck is happening? I turned back to Dave, but he wasn't there anymore. Gone. Just gone. Only the fire remained, low, flickering, and beside it, lined up neatly in a row, were three things. My pack, Chris's other boot, a Polaroid photo. I stepped closer. Against every screaming instinct, I stepped closer. The photo was of me, taken from behind, at the cabin, holding the camera. Someone had been following me the whole way back. Taylor was still moving, one foot dragging, slow, deliberate. His arms started to raise slowly, like strings pulling them up from above. I screamed and ran toward the trees, anywhere but here. The forest swallowed me. I don't remember the path, the direction. The landmarks were gone like the woods had shifted. Branches reached lower, thicker, snagging my shirt, slicing my skin. I heard footsteps behind me, fast, then slow, then fast again, like someone was enjoying the chase. Every few minutes I saw something I recognized. The log I tripped over, the pool of blood where Chris had been, now gone. Only a soaked patch of moss remained. I kept moving until I hit the edge of a ravine, too deep to cross, too steep to climb. And then I heard it, rustling behind me, closer. I turned and saw him again, the barefoot man. He was crouched this time, not moving, maybe 20 feet away. His arms dangled between his knees, head tilted, just watching. He didn't blink. He didn't even seem to breathe. Then he whispered something, so soft I almost didn't hear it. "You'll fit right in." That broke me. I screamed. I threw rocks. I begged. I told him I'd give him money, gear, food, anything. I just wanted to leave. I told him I had a brother, a job, a life, that people would come looking. But he just sat there, smiling. "You won't leave. None of you do. Not really." He stood up slowly, step by step, each movement deliberate. "Your friend knew. That's why he stayed behind." What do you want?" I sobbed. He took one more step, then stopped. and said, "To be seen." Then he turned around and walked into the trees, gone. I collapsed to my knees, shaking, crying. Mud in my teeth, blood on my arms, nothing left to hold on to. I stayed there for hours, maybe all night, just waiting for him to come back. For Taylor, for Dave, for something. But no one came. And that's when I realized I wasn't supposed to leave, but I had to try. So I stood up, found the sun, and started walking. North, always north, until I heard something that froze my blood cold. A voice, my own voice, whispering from the trees. "Why'd you leave us?" That voice, it wasn't just similar, it was mine. Not like a recording, not like an echo, but like something crawling inside my throat and yanking the sound out. Every syllable scratched its way into the air like it had been stitched together by someone who'd heard me talk but never understood how speech worked. "Why'd you leave us?" It came from my left, then from the right, then from behind. I spun around, fists clenched like that would do anything. Nothing but trees, wind, shadows. And then I saw it. A torn piece of fabric, REI branded, snagged on a low branch. I stumbled over, pulled it off, and immediately recognized the color. It was from Chris's jacket. Except Chris was dead. Wasn't he? My mind twisted. The longer I stayed in that forest, the more reality sloshed around like dirty water in a broken bottle. My memories warped. Had I really seen his body? Had I actually checked for a pulse? Or had I just assumed, because there was so much blood? The trees opened up into a shallow basin, a dip in the earth choked with moss and rotten leaves. I heard a soft, rhythmic thudding, steady, wet. I crept forward, crawled the last few feet on my belly like I used to do in the woods behind my childhood home. I peeked over the rise. There were 3 of them down there, naked from the waist up, pale, mud-smeared, barefoot. 2 were digging, with their hands, tearing through the soil like dogs, tossing clumps behind them. The 3rd just stood there, watching, face blank, breathing slow. One of the diggers looked up, and I choked on my gasp. It was Taylor, or whatever was left of him. The eye sockets were black holes now, just crusted pits. But his mouth was open, mumbling something under his breath with each handful of dirt he scooped. I strained to listen. My heart slowed to a crawl as I made out the words. "Don't leave, don't leave, don't leave." Suddenly one of them froze mid-dig, head shot up, nose twitching, like a wild animal catching scent. I didn't wait. I turned and bolted back into the trees, hands still raw from crawling. Branches ripped across my face. I didn't care. Every breath was a knife, every heartbeat a countdown. They were following. I didn't see them, but I heard them. Footsteps, low muttering. My own name whispered over and over again like a curse being conjured. Jason, Jason, Jason. That's when I tripped, again. I hit the dirt hard and rolled down a slope, snapping through roots and branches until I landed, hard, on a flat patch of dry ground. Groaning, I tried to stand and stopped cold. The cabin. That fucking cabin. I was back. Somehow the forest had led me in a circle, or maybe it had moved. Maybe it wanted me here. The door was open. Inside, candlelight flickered. No. I tried to step away, but something pulled me forward. My legs moved without permission. My body wanted to run, but my brain whispered, "You already belong to this place." Inside, the air was thick with rot. Animal? Human? I didn't know anymore. On the far wall, the names had multiplied, carved with knives, nails, whatever could cut. Hundreds of them, overlapping, some fresh, some faded, and in the middle, mine. Jason carved deep, still bleeding sap from the beam. I turned. In the corner sat Dave, eyes wide, smile stitched across his face with actual wire. Someone had stitched him into that expression. He didn't blink. He didn't speak. He just stared. Then, slowly, he raised a hand and pointed at the ceiling. I looked up. Ropes, hooks, and something dripping. The candlelight flickered, and a voice whispered, "It's your turn." I didn't scream. I should have, but I didn't. My voice caught in my throat and dissolved into a dry croak. My body went cold. Not just from fear, but from something else, a realization. Like my bones understood something I hadn't admitted yet. There was no getting out. Dave lowered his hand. His arms hung limp, slack like broken branches. I stared up at the ropes. Thick, rough, crusted with old blood. They didn't sway. They just hung there, like they were waiting. I turned and ran. Not because I thought it would help. I didn't even know where I was going anymore. The world outside the cabin had gone full dream logic. Trees that weren't there before, trails that vanished under my feet, every path winding in on itself like intestines. Everywhere I turned, I heard my name. Jason. Some soft, some distant, some whispered through gritted teeth, like they were trying not to choke on it. And worse, I started seeing faces, in the trees, behind rocks, in puddles. My face, staring back, mismatched, wrong, like someone had seen me once and tried to make me again using whatever they had. Clay, bark, skin. Some of the faces smiled, others wept. One of them mouthed, "It's better if you stop." I don't know how long I ran, maybe hours, maybe days. My watch was dead, my phone too, food gone. I drank rainwater, licked moss, puked bile, slept in spurts. But the dreams were worse, because in them I was always back in that cabin, always under those ropes, and they were always lowering. Eventually I stopped. I stood at a ridge, staring down into nothing. Just mist. No trail, no sound, just stillness. And someone walked up behind me. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Bare feet, slow steps. The man. He stood beside me, staring down into the mist like it was a mirror. He didn't speak. Not right away. And then he said very softly, "You ran better than most." I couldn't answer. My voice was gone. I didn't know if it would ever come back. He turned to face me. His eyes weren't empty now. They were full of something. I don't know if it was hunger, regret, joy, or all three twisted into one. Then he said the last words I'll ever remember. "Go on, pick your name." He stepped back, and I stepped forward. Not off the ridge, into the woods, because that's the part you never hear. The ones who disappear. They don't always die. Sometimes they just change. Sometimes they become the red flags, the voices in the woods, the smiling man in the photo, the one who watches and waits and carves your name before you even arrive. The trail we marked with stones disappeared overnight. I don't even know why I'm writing this. Maybe because if I don't put it down somewhere, it'll keep living in my head like a disease. Maybe it already is. This happened last fall in the Grand Teton National Park. 4 of us. Me, my best friend Tyler, his girlfriend Jessica, and my little brother Nate. We were supposed to be off-grid for a week, camping deep in the backcountry. No reception, no Instagram check-ins, just the mountains, a few Costco-packed freeze-dried meals, and our brand new REI tents. We started from the Death Canyon trailhead. I remember joking that the name felt cursed. I should have shut up. Tyler was the planner. He mapped everything out on all trails, had a Garmin InReach Mini, backup topo maps laminated and everything. The guy was serious. We made our way up to the Death Canyon shelf, camped near Fox Creek Pass. Pristine. Empty. Beautiful. Too empty. First red flag. We saw another tent the second night, about 300 yards away. Normal, right? But that's not the weird part. The guy never left it. Not to pee, not to cook. We watched all day, just this bright orange marmot tent like a sealed blister in the middle of the woods. No movement. At sunset, Tyler walked over to check it out, just to say hi, maybe see if they needed anything. He came back pale, said no one answered his hello, but he heard breathing inside. Heavy, slow, he said, like a smoker asleep. He didn't knock. We laughed it off. Probably someone sleeping off altitude sickness. Night 3, someone, or something, moved our hiking boots. I'd left mine under the rainfly. Next morning, they were 5 feet away, lined up neatly, side by side like they'd been placed. Jessica freaked out, thought a bear had sniffed around. But bears don't line up shoes. Tyler thought we were being pranked. He actually got kinda pissed, like someone was watching us. He scanned the trees for cameras, like that made any sense. Nate was quiet. Too quiet. I caught him staring off into the trees at dusk, totally zoned out. That night, I swear I heard whispering. Not like spooky ghost story whispering. No, this was low, male, just out of range. I thought maybe I was dreaming, or maybe it was the wind, until it said my name. The next morning, Nate was gone. His sleeping bag was zipped shut like he'd vanished from inside it. No signs of a struggle, no footprints leading out. Nothing, just his bag, zipped like he was never there at all. Tyler lost it. Started yelling Nate's name, running up and down the rocky slope behind our site. Jessica cried until her nose bled. And then, at noon, Nate walked back into camp. Silent, covered in mud, eyes wide like he'd seen something unholy. He didn't speak a single word, just sat down and stared at the fire pit. That night I didn't sleep, because I saw him get up at 3:23 a.m. He walked straight to the tree line, naked, and someone else followed him. I should have run after him. I should have grabbed Nate or screamed or woken up Tyler. I should have done something besides sit there in my sleeping bag, paralyzed. But I didn't. I just watched. My heartbeat pounding in my throat so loud I thought it might give me away. Nate disappeared into the trees without a sound. The person following him, that's what's burned into my skull. He or it moved too fluid, like his joints didn't work the way they should. He had a headlamp, but it wasn't turned on. No flashlight, no phone screen. Yet somehow I could see his face. It was pale, like concrete soaked in milk. He didn't blink. I don't know how I knew he was watching me, but I did. Even while following Nate, even as he melted into the black, I swear to God he turned his head just slightly and smiled. Just enough to make me want to claw my own skin off. I didn't sleep after that. When morning came, I didn't say anything. Not to Tyler, not to Jess. What would I even say? Hey, so my brother left camp naked at 3 a.m. and was followed by Slenderman's cousin. Should we pack up? Instead, I made coffee robotically. Our jet boil wouldn't ignite at first, which was strange because it was barely used. I kept flicking it. Tyler finally got annoyed and stomped over. "Let me do it," he said, grumpy as hell. "You're just... what the hell?" He was holding Nate's boots. They were tied together, shoelaces knotted like a noose, and hanging from the tree above our fire pit. Jess gasped and stepped back so fast she tripped over a bear canister. We all just stared up at them. There was no way they were there yesterday. Someone had to have put them there in the night. Tyler yanked them down. "Who the fuck is doing this?" Jess started crying again. She wasn't even trying to hide it now. I looked at Nate. He was crouched near the rocks, running his fingers in the dirt. Not like drawing, just feeling it. Over and over. "Nate," I whispered. "Where did you go last night?" He looked up slowly, his lips moved but no sound came out. "What?" I said. I leaned in. "I saw the tent," he muttered. "It was open." "What tent?" Jess asked, trembling. Nate turned his head sharply. "The orange one." I felt my stomach cave in. "What do you mean, open?" Tyler said. "I walked up to it," Nate said, still crouching. "There was no one inside, just something. On the floor. It looked like skin." Jess dry heaved into her jacket. Tyler stood there, completely still. "You went over there last night? Alone? Why?" Nate's eyes narrowed. "Because he said to." "Who said to?" But Nate didn't answer. He just smiled. Too wide. Too empty. That was the moment I decided we were leaving. It took us 2 hours to repack everything. Tyler kept trying to argue. "We've got 4 more days on the trail, it's probably just a prank, blah blah." But even he couldn't deny Nate was acting wrong. Not just shaken, off. We retraced our route toward Death Canyon trailhead. Every half mile, Tyler dropped a small pile of white stones we'd collected earlier, our own makeshift markers. He was paranoid about getting lost. About 3 hours in, we stopped for water. Nate refused to drink, just sat on a log staring at the sky, mouth slightly open. I asked him if he was hungry. He didn't answer. Jess was filling her bottle when she suddenly screamed. We all whipped around. She pointed to a tree. A knife was sticking out of it. Not a camping knife. A long, narrow butcher's blade. Rusty. deeply embedded in the bark, and hanging from its hilt was a strip of bright orange tent fabric. Nate walked over to it. He touched it. Then, quietly, "He's close now." I could barely breathe. Tyler grabbed Nate and started yelling, asking him what the hell he meant, who he was talking about. Nate didn't resist. He just kept saying, "He's close. He's always close." That's when we looked back and realized the trail we marked with stones, it was gone. Every single pile vanished. No footprints, no wind, no animals, just forest. Endless, silent, suffocating forest. We didn't say it out loud, but I know we were all thinking the same thing. Something was undoing our trail markers. We were being followed, or worse, led. Tyler swore, stormed up and down the ridge behind us, looking for anything. A boot scuff, snapped twig, even a squirrel. Nothing. The woods were dead quiet. Too quiet. Even birds weren't calling. No wind, no insects, just a buzzing in your ears like pressure dropping inside a plane. Jess refused to move. She just sat cross-legged in the dirt, her hands pressed tight over her ears, like she was trying to block out the world. Nate stood a few feet away, still barefoot, whispering to himself again. I wanted to scream. Instead, I checked our GPS. No signal. Of course. I tried the emergency beacon on Tyler's Garmin in reach. The button was jammed. I don't mean, like, not responding, jammed. Like someone had shoved something into the mechanism. I held it up to show Tyler, but before I could say anything, I saw his expression. He was staring past me. I turned. There was a man, standing exactly where we'd been resting an hour earlier, not moving, just standing there at the edge of the trail, one arm hanging lower than the other. He wore a faded red parka, too clean for someone out here long term, but his face wasn't right. It was flat, too smooth, like a doll head, no pores, eyes wide, lips slightly parted, no emotion, no humanity. "Hey!" Tyler shouted. "Who the fuck are you?" The man didn't react, didn't flinch, just kept standing there, watching. I stepped back and tripped over a rock. Jess was sobbing now, begging Tyler to stop yelling. Nate didn't move, just turned his head slowly toward the man. "He's here to walk us home," Nate said. That broke me. I grabbed Jess, yanked her up by the arm and hissed, "We need to go. Now. No more trail. Just run downhill." Tyler hesitated. He looked back at the man, then at Nate. "What about—" "Leave him," I said. I didn't mean it. I don't even know if I said it out loud. Maybe I just thought it. But I felt it, like an animal. Leave him. He's already gone. But Tyler wouldn't leave Nate. He grabbed his arm, tried to drag him. Nate didn't resist. He just smiled. "You'll see him too, eventually," Nate whispered. We took off, pushing through branches, stumbling on roots, clothes ripping, skin tearing open. Jess lost her pack after 20 minutes. I dropped my water bottle. It didn't matter. We were animals now, panicked and ragged and completely unprepared. It started to rain. Not a storm, just a cold, thin drizzle like the forest was sweating. It soaked through our jackets instantly, made every step slick and miserable. My hands went numb, my boots squelched, and then we saw it. A cabin. Yes, a fucking cabin. Out here, deep in the Tetons, off-trail, surrounded by pine and fog. It looked ancient, stone foundation, sagging wood, moss-covered roof. But the windows were intact. Smoke curled from a crooked chimney. A dim light flickered behind the curtains. Jess ran for it. Didn't even hesitate. Tyler followed, dragging Nate behind him. I hesitated, every cell in my body screaming, "No, no, no, don't go in there." But I couldn't leave them. Not really. I stepped through the crooked door into stale heat and shadows. The room was empty. No furniture, no stove, no fire, just walls. And dozens, maybe hundreds of small stones. Each one marked with a name. Our names were there. All four. Nate walked up to the wall and pressed his forehead against it. "I'm home," he whispered. Then the door slammed shut behind us. I lunged for the door. It wouldn't budge. Not stuck, held, like there was a weight against it from the outside, or something far worse. Someone. Tyler dropped his pack and shoulder-checked the door. Wood splintered, but it didn't give. Jess screamed for him to stop, then immediately started helping, throwing her weight against the hinges. I turned to Nate. He was still pressed to the wall of names, hands flat against the stones, whispering. "Nate!" I shouted. "Get the fuck away from that!" He didn't even blink. The air inside the cabin started to change. It got thick, warm, like something was exhaling on us. My throat tightened. The smell, rotting earth and old metal, blood and mildew. Then the lights came on, all at once. No switch, no bulb. Just light. Blinding white, like halogen headlights through fog. It came from everywhere. The cracks in the wood, between the stones, beneath the floorboards. I backed toward the others. Tyler had stopped hitting the door. Jess was shaking. And Nate? He was smiling. "He made this for us," he said, "so we wouldn't be lonely." Jess started screaming. She ran to Nate, grabbed his shoulders, shook him hard. "What the fuck is wrong with you? Who is he? What is this place?" Nate blinked slowly. "He lives here, in the spaces between trees, the one who watches without eyes. He's always watched. We just stopped looking back." Jess slapped him, hard. Nate staggered and something cracked. Not his jaw, his cheek. A thin fracture ran from his temple to his chin, like dry porcelain. "What the—" Tyler started. And then Nate turned toward us. The skin on his face slipped, like a mask coming loose. Underneath wasn't muscle or bone, just smooth, pulsing white, like stretched candle wax, featureless, but somehow still looking right at us. I threw up. Right there on the floor, the door behind us opened, just like that. No noise, no creak, just open. Outside it was darker than before, too dark, like midnight, even though it was maybe 5 p.m. I didn't think. I grabbed Jess and bolted. Tyler hesitated for half a second too long. Nate lunged. We didn't see what happened. We didn't want to. Jess and I just ran, back into the woods. The trees were wrong, not in a magical fairy tale way. No, nothing whimsical about this. They were wrong in the way that a dream turns to nightmare, subtly, then all at once. The bark seemed wetter. The moss looked like it breathed, and the path The path we thought we were on kept looping back. Every 10 minutes we passed the same fallen log. I left a granola wrapper on it. Next loop, it was gone. Just gone. Jess kept asking me where Tyler was. I didn't answer. We didn't speak for a while after that. Then, around the 7th loop, the rain stopped. Abruptly. We emerged into a clearing and found another tent. Orange. Same as before. Still zipped. Still motionless. Jess started crying again. No, no, no. I told her to wait. I told her I had to check. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to know. Maybe part of me still thought it would be Nate inside, asleep, smiling like a sick joke. I approached slowly. The zipper was rusted. I tugged gently. It screeched as it opened. Inside, there was no one. Just a small pile of stones, 4 of them, each with a name scratched in with what looked like fingernails. Jess, Tyler, Nate. Me. That's when we heard the voice behind us. Low, male, familiar. Found you. We spun around so fast Jess fell backward. My heart stopped. I thought it had to be Tyler. Please God, let it be Tyler. But it wasn't. It was the man from the trail. The one with the pale face and 2 clean parka. But now his face wasn't smooth anymore. It was filled in. With Nate's features, like someone had pressed Nate's skin over his own skull and was still figuring out how to wear it. The jaw hung loose. One eye blinked too slowly. The voice sounded like Nate, sure, but like it was remembering how Nate used to sound. Don't run, he said. It's already over. Jess screamed so loud it made birds explode out of the trees. I didn't even know there were birds still here. She grabbed my arm, yanked me back, and we took off again. We didn't talk. We didn't cry. We just ran. Branches whipped our faces. The fog closed in like fingers. I lost a shoe somewhere. Didn't care. Every breath felt like swallowing battery acid. Behind us, I swear I could hear the thing run too, on all 4s, breathing too fast, giggling through cracked lips that weren't his. The trail reappeared out of nowhere. I don't even know if it was the same one, but we followed it anyway. We didn't have a choice. Then we saw something that made Jess stop cold. Another cabin. No. The same cabin. Same shape, same mossy roof, same crooked chimney. Only now it looked burned. Half the front wall was scorched black. Roof caved in. The stones with our names, scattered like someone had kicked them or dragged them. I told her to keep moving. She didn't. She walked up to the front door. Maybe he's gone, she whispered. Maybe this is just a place. Not him. Not it. Jess, I said, panicking. Please. He's not gone. I can feel it, she said. She stepped inside. The air changed again. It was warm. Too warm. I heard her gasp. Then a snap. Like wood breaking. I ran in after her. The inside of the cabin was different. No stones, no walls. Just a hole in the middle of the floor. A perfect circle. 10 feet wide. Blacker than black. I couldn't see the bottom. And Jess? She was dangling over it, by her ankle, from the ceiling, screaming. The thing had her, not Nate, not the man, not anyone anymore. Just it. I saw arms, but they weren't arms. I saw fingers, but they bent wrong. I grabbed Jess's hands, tried to pull her up, but she was slipping fast. "Don't let go," I screamed. I'm trying," she cried. Then the whispering started again. All around us, hundreds of voices, low, wet, familiar. I heard Tyler's voice, my mother's, my own voice, laughing cruelly, mocking me. "Just fall," one of them said. "It's easier," said another. Jess locked eyes with me. "Don't let them take me." I screamed and yanked her up with everything I had. Her shoe flew off, and something yelped from the pit. She landed on me hard. We both scrambled back. I slammed the door shut behind us. It didn't matter. The thing never used doors anyway. We didn't talk for a while, just sat outside, backs against the burned cabin, waiting for the sun to rise. It never did. We've been waiting for, I don't know, hours, days. The sun doesn't rise here anymore. Every trail we take leads back to the same clearing and the same tent. The stones now say, "Found, we stopped running 2 days ago." Or maybe it was 4. I don't know anymore. Time doesn't work here. Watches died, phones drained, the sky hasn't changed. No sunrise, no moon, just an endless grey smear above the trees like God forgot to finish painting. Jess doesn't talk now. She sits by the fire pit we made with wet branches that never burn right. Just smoke and crackle and the occasional pop like distant gunshots. She hums sometimes, tuneless, with her hands clamped over her ears. I think she's trying not to hear them. The whispers, they never stopped. Sometimes they're far, like wind. Other times they're right behind me, breathing on my neck. Tyler never came back. The last time I saw him was when we opened our eyes and the cabin was gone again. He stood a few feet away, knees bent, head tilted like he was listening to something in the dirt. He turned to us and said, "I get it now." Then he walked into the trees, naked. We didn't follow. That was 3 stone circles ago. The forest plays tricks now. The trees shift when we're not looking. The paths vanish mid-step. I piss in the same bush 3 times a day and it's always in a different place. Sometimes I find signs we were here before, our names scratched on bark, Jess's jacket tied around a stump, my own handwriting on a note I never wrote. "You already did this. You already left. He just hasn't let you remember yet." I tried to burn it. It didn't catch. We don't sleep. Or we do. But it's not sleep. It's this hot, trembling state where the forest slips inside your head and fills it with them. Faces. Memories that aren't mine. Screams I never made. I woke up yesterday with mud under my fingernails and Jess sobbing because I tried to pull her toward the pit again. I don't remember it. I swear I don't. But she had scratches on her neck. I tied my hands together with my bootlaces after that. The final time it came for us was different. We didn't hear it. We felt it. Like pressure behind the eyes. Like your soul bending in the wrong direction. Jess started clawing at her skin, crying, It's in my mouth, it's in my mouth, before running off screaming into the woods. I didn't go after her, because I knew what was waiting. She wouldn't come back. No one does. Only it comes back, wearing their face. So now I sit, alone, back at the orange tent, still zipped, still quiet. The stones in front of it are different now. They don't say names, they say instructions. Lie down, close your eyes, let go. But I'm not ready yet. I want someone to find this. I scratched the whole story into my journal, every page. When I ran out, I used the back of old receipts, my map, my skin. I left them in dry bags along the trail. If you're reading this, leave. Turn back. Don't trust anyone who smiles too long. Don't follow footprints that aren't yours. And if you see the orange tent, don't open it. Whatever's inside is waiting to wear you. And once you're part of it, you never leave.